Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Marketing and Matcha for your dose of unapologetically unfiltered, slightly chaotic, and fiercely opinionated, but always data-driven marketing insights. For today's episode, we will be discussing the marketing trends of the Gen Z and why it's so confusing for people in current marketing scene, how to deal with it, the trends that we like and dislike, the controversial stuff, all of that good stuff. So stick with us and enjoy this episode. I'm MJ and I'm here with Jana and Ahmed today, and we're gonna jump straight into the first question. So here's the thing. Why do you guys think that Gen Z has become such a challenge for marketers to crack? Like, it's not a new thing to market to young audiences, but what is so different about Gen Z that we can't just seem to figure out?
First of all, hello. Regarding the challenges, there are so many for Gen Z, I would say. The first thing is that social media, specifically Instagram, YouTube, and so on, are made directly for millennials. Except for TikTok, I would say it's strongly related to Gen Z. The second point I would like to mention is that people forget that Gen Z have purchasing powers right now.
Yeah, I am still processing myself that people born in the 2000s are like living, breathing, fully conscious, working individuals that have like deep thoughts. I'm still processing that.
That's very funny. You've been around us for 2 years now.
I get it. It's still a thing to process. But yes, please continue.
Yeah, and I would say another challenge is the content, the length. So a lot of the content usually is dedicated for millennials or generations older than that. It's very long. For Gen Z, we prefer shorter content. Our attention span might be a bit lower. Sorry for that.
I honestly relate to that part though.
So Ahmed, what do you think about the content length?
First of all, I do agree. Delivering a meaningful message in short form is very difficult because you don't catch your audience in the first 5 seconds, they are gone. What if your content is complex? How do you tell them everything in 30 seconds?
So first of all, I do not agree with you. It's not 5 seconds, it's 3 seconds for me. For complex content, I would suggest that we go for series, like tips of the day, short form content, small trend videos that would include your services.
Yeah, I've seen people, so for example, one of the things that's really, really effective for this, and it actually keeps your audience on your page as well, is when they create a lot of, let's say, short YouTube videos, and then they put everything in a playlist, and it just like plays after the other. It gets addictive, and they don't even realize that they're consuming all this complex content in just like bite size. So I agree with that for sure.
Yes,
yeah.
I do agree. And there's a high percentage actually where Gen Z is actually learning from social media. I've noticed that everyone's learning all their knowledge actually, including me. I learn a lot on TikTok, which is funny and ironic a bit. I've seen that even Generation Alpha, if you want to get into them, they know everything from social media only.
Oh, definitely. And we're actually going to start discussing, like at some point we will get into this, why that can actually be quite dangerous and all the misinformation that comes with that. So the response.
Of course, yeah. I have a small example actually for that. The other day I had a doctor's appointment and I had so many questions from how much content I've seen on social media, to the point where she told me other doctors are getting tricked by the false information from other doctors who became social media figures, let's say. So other specialists are learning from those doctors, thinking that they're delivering the true information, when it's all a scam just to get views and followers. So of course, we need to watch out from that as well.
Funnily enough, this is a phenomena that has been there since the existence of social media. The older generation is doing it on Facebook. So Gen Z is doing it on TikTok, and the older generation is all on Facebook. And it's known, the aunties of Facebook getting their medicinal and home care and all of that homeopathy from Facebook.
So yeah, I do agree with you with that. It has been something that's been passed on into generations. I mean, I remember when the pandemic started, the amount of things that I've heard from my grandma and mother and all the aunties out there.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm there.
Yeah. You're what?
I'm there.
Yeah,
You're there. You're where?
Anywhere.
You're anywhere. Okay.
Ahmed is there everywhere, anywhere, wherever you need him.
Ahmed is omnipresent. Ahmed, actually, I have a question for you, since you
Please
are the
ask.
operations manager for us, and the business dealings are actually your territory. So a lot of social media experts say that if a brand is actively not trying to reach out to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're doing themselves a disservice. Do you agree with this or do you not agree with it? I mean, we kind of touched on this at the very beginning in the intro as well. Do we completely just ignore them since they're so difficult to deal with? And if we do that, what are the drawbacks for your businesses?
I don't agree with them ignoring Gen Z. Here is the thing. Many Gen Z born after 1997 are starting their own businesses. I mean, the number has almost doubled since 2019. Gen Z want to be their own boss. As I did, shifted from cybersecurity consultant to marketing to be my own boss, where I am decision maker, because we have access to so much information that we can make informed decisions much more easily.
Yeah, I agree. And now, speaking of 2019, actually, that was a very significant year because that's when the pandemic happened. And I feel like there was a shift in, so they were the generation that graduated in COVID. They were the generation that started to have to make decisions and like business and life decisions while in the middle of a pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like funnily enough, a lot of behavior from people that are non-Gen Z also shifted to be a lot more Gen Z-like when COVID happened because we were all online, we had to work from home, we were our own we got a taste of being independent instead of being in the office all the time. So I feel like if you're ignoring Gen Z trends and marketing to Gen Z, you're not only ignoring Gen Z alone, you're also ignoring people who have picked up habits to be more like Gen Z that are older. Because, Jana, as you mentioned, TikTok seems to be for Gen Z only. But recently they've seen that a lot of older people are now also making businesses on TikTok, and they are picking up Gen Z trends. So if you're ignoring them, you're ignoring the previous generation too that got impacted by COVID. Like, that's how I see it, at least.
What happened in COVID-19, I saw a lot of people, they stopped their work. Actually, they got fired from their work because, the business
had to downsize. Yeah. And universities, I believe, as well, right? Like students.
My I was on my second year of university. And I saw all the students, me as well, we all stopped studying and working and everything. Then I kept in my mind, I should start, I should grow myself. I know the world is stopped now. So what I did, opened online store that moment, and alhamdulillah, it's got success. So
yeah, and I feel like this was a trend that a lot of people started to pick up. That's exactly why it became such a powerful presence, the Gen Z trend of social media, because a lot of Gen Z were doing that at that time as well. So they're a lot more impactful online than any other generation has been, I believe, for these reasons. I feel like they have a stronger online presence because of stuff that happened during COVID,
I think there is TikTok wasn't knows very well on COVID-19. In COVID-19, most of the people there, they don't have work, they don't have anything to do, and they were more online, and making a trend, watching TikTok videos.
It was definitely a way to feel connected to the rest of the world. So, you want to see human faces. You go on social media.
Of course, yeah.
And then you want to put your face out there yourself, too. So they start doing that.
No, I did that. If you go to my TikTok, you can see my videos there. It's still there.
Yeah.
I will not delete it. I'm not proud of myself, but but I like to see what's happened in COVID-19, because most of the people a lot of people they can't remember themselves on 2019 and 2020. So
yeah, true. It's like a lot of people still say, "What do you mean it's 2025? What do you mean it's been 5 years? No. This was a year ago. I don't remember." Yeah.
So I do agree with Ahmed. Actually, many people did rise in 2019 from TikTok itself. I've seen so many influencers that are very famous right now only from that time. Another thing we can touch touch upon, because of the pandemic, although it was very unfortunate, but it gave us so much opportunity for different things, to explore more things as Gen Z. One thing that became very popular is hybrid working, which I believe is amazing for workplaces to provide.
I agree with that since we do it here and I'm loving it.
We really love it here, especially for creative fields, actually. I do agree that if you're a designer, you're working in content writing, so on, you need your time alone to be as creative as you can. But it does open more opportunities to have more purchasing powers. You go more on your... I know, I'm sure, I'm 100% that people do go on their phones more often at home. So
True.
this gives you more power to purchase online and do more online shopping, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not putting money on transportation costs. You're not spending a lot of hours commuting to work.
Of
so
course,
you have more energy.
you do save a lot, so
Yeah.
it does help.
Regarding transportation, before COVID-19, I had to go to my university to pay more than a half my allowance. So in COVID-19, it saved a lot of money
Which then translates to purchasing power. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
sure.
And even being able to set up and save up for your own business that you're planning to open very slowly. Like any extra money, a lot of businesses begin with just a small amount of money.
Of course, yeah, definitely. And I think so many businesses actually opened after 2019, even though so many shut down. But we can all agree that so many new ideas came out during the pandemic because people had the time to think more freely, and they did really amazing work during that time.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that's exactly why we see social media as a whole change. It's not just Gen Z changed it because they're the
Definitely, yeah.
generation. Yeah, it changed
And you can see how everything changed, the concept of cafes, activities, entertainment. I think people after 2019, they want to be out of the house almost all the time. That's for me, honestly. I used to love watching Netflix, and now I can't sit at home after that experience.
Yeah, and that changes how marketing for those businesses then works. So, especially because people know what they want now, they have had the time to explore themselves and see what they want. It is so much harder to just like sell whatever to them. It's like, no, do I really want this now though? Do I want it? I remember the days when it was hard and I didn't have a job. Do I really want to put my money on this, or is it something that I actually want? So marketing has to change in that perspective as well.
And something I've noticed actually in the Gen Z market, that's for all businesses to realize, when it comes to purchasing certain luxuries, I've noticed that they go for secondhand products more now rather than buying it fresh from the market.
Why do you think that is actually? Let's get into the details of this part. Why do you think they
Of course,
prefer?
there's so many topics. One of them is sustainability is a big topic. A lot of the Gen Zs do care about this topic, about recycling, about using material, about reusing material, not throwing things to waste. Another thing would definitely be more affordable for them to use secondhand products. The one last point is that Gen Z actually, for some reason, like the 90s era and the 80s, and they like to purchase things from that time, the vintage stuff. They're really into vintage and aesthetics, let's call it. I think it's a very famous word in our time.
Yeah, and the thing is, actually, that's a trend that always happens. The generation that comes next, they want to go back. I mean, I remember when polka dots became a popular thing, and they were like my mom's generation, which is she's quite old, okay? So that came back. It's trends that always like repeat. I agree. Now, actually, as you mentioned in your first point about sustainability, that takes us to the next point that I want to actually discuss. So Gen Z definitely wants brands to speak on social causes, political causes. They are the generation that wants authenticity, and they want brands and businesses to be a part of that and not just care about money, right? Sustainability is one of the key points that they look for as well. But here's the double edge of it. When a business is too much about sustainability, it cringes them out, right? It actually actually cringes them out because they're like, you're not being authentic. You're just trying to make money off of me, you know?
I do agree with you on
So
that.
how do we tackle this issue where Gen Z wants to see these causes? Like there's percentages. They've done studies on this where they say that so like 70% of consumers in Gen Z believed in 2019, by the way, with the Brands Get Real report that was done by Sprout Social, they wanted businesses to take a public stance on social and political issues. But by 2023, only a quarter of those consumers said that they wanted brands to speak about causes. So it seems to be a fluctuating thing that goes up and down, but they still want it. And then by 2024, almost all of them, they expect influencers, which we'll get into how influencers should be incorporated into your brand for Gen Z marketing and how they're important. We'll get into that topic in a minute. But by 2024, they want all of the influencers to speak on social issues, right? So how do you make it authentic?
So I think what is happening here, first of all, there's so many different problems happening around the world that has made so many of the Gen Z population very sensitive, especially how each brand is speaking about it. I don't want to get into too much details on that, but I feel like when it's made in a way that's like an act, it's when Gen Z doesn't want to look into these product or this brand anymore, or when they indirectly reference the situation in terms of sustainability or any political issue or social issue. But when brands speak about it in a very natural manner, without anything staged, no advertisement, nothing planned, just someone comes out and talks about the situation, it looks very real and it gets to the heart immediately, and that's when Gen Z believes that this is a truthful brand. So I would say that they don't like it to be scripted, let's say. When it comes out from the heart, it makes a difference.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be incorporated into the business entirely because Gen Z is so good at seeing fake now.
Yeah,
Definitely. They're very observant. They've seen enough.
I think that's because when the rise of influencers, let's say, started when we were in school, and I think so many of us followed from the age of 14, 15, followed YouTubers, influencers that rose on social media. And I think from so many experiences, once you try the products they're recommending, once you go and follow them, one experience after the other, you realize how fake things were. So let's say a food blogger would recommend like 10 restaurants. Out of the 10 restaurants, one is good. What does that tell you? So obviously they do prefer genuine things. They do realize now that a lot of the things are paid ads and nothing is done realistically. So one experience, actually, I was at a restaurant once and there was an influencer trying the food. So behind the camera, I can see everything that's going on. She didn't taste any of the meals. She just took a bite on camera, said how good it is, and then she just threw it away and left. So that tells you a lot about what Gen Z sees on camera and then what they see behind the scenes.
Agreed. And yeah, that's the thing. Marketing is now so public. You see influencers recording things all the time. So yeah, everybody sees.
Yeah, and everyone is an influencer now. You don't know
Yes.
who's real and who's not.
True.
That's why an advice for everyone actually that you have to choose the right influencer. You have to dig through because it does make a difference who you're going through. So I realized one more thing about picking the influencer before, like let's say before COVID. Whoever is trendy, you hire, does the ad, it does really well. But now it really makes a difference. Like whoever you associate your brand with does actually impact the purchases that you're gonna make after that, especially if their reputation is not great.
Yeah, and it's not even that the influencer is, let's say, like it's from a different category completely, and they don't believe in the things that the business is trying to sell, and they just have the numbers. You'll still get the numbers, you'll still get that view and engagement, but will you be able to convert it? Most likely not, and then you're alienating Gen Z because they'll be like, oh, so you're just getting the numbers in without actually knowing that this influencer believes in this cause. You know, you're just putting a face out there.
Of course, yeah. I think Gen Z do care about the image you're trying to make for your brand. They look into so many things. I actually want to put in this point of view other than influencers. They do care about the brand consistency and the brand presence there. It's not just about putting pictures of your products or videos. It's more than that. It's how you speak, how your voice is as a brand and how your team shows. We look a lot on the employees working there. How is the environment at work? Are they happy? Is there any conflict? Do they enjoy their work there? This all makes a difference because this all relates to part of a brand consistency in a way.
Let's go back to the influencers for a second. I believe everything is online now, and we can tell the influencers don't believe in what they are selling because we see their personal beliefs online. Before, everyone is following influencers from the previous generations, but now all the generations following Gen Z consumer behavior.
Speaking of everything being online, there is a belief that Gen Z is chronically online, which, I mean, I kind of agree with, yes. But are they really chronically online? We're seeing a shift in all of that quite recently. How would you describe the way this generation uses social media compared to others, and with the fact that they're constantly present online now?
Actually, I disagree with that. So I do agree with one part is that we were chronically online previously. So from my personal experience, I do see a big shift. I don't know, is that because I'm working in marketing and I'm always online for work reasons? But I've seen that since like the last year, let's say, my online presence has decreased by a lot. So for me, I try not to go on TikTok as much or Instagram for several reasons. And statistics do actually show, again, we're going to reference Sprout here, 66% of the Gen Zs know when to disconnect their devices now. So that's a big percentage and a big shift, actually. So I think we should also try to dedicate doing other things, offline marketing, more than online marketing now for Gen Zs. One thing I've noticed, that, especially in Dubai, actually, is that there's a lot of pop-ups happening for different brands. And they're not just any pop-up where they just make a booth and put their products out there and give out free samples. But no, they offer hands-on experience, which Gen Z really love.
Definitely, experiential marketing it seems to be the way to go now. Yes,
it's definitely the right direction, and I think this is something we're looking into from way back. Because I remember when I was in university, most of my projects were actually revolving around hands-on experiences and experiential marketing for several projects I've worked on. So it's definitely something we are interested in, and plus we get to do more social media content for that, ironically speaking.
True. And see, I think the previous generation was more related to like facts, statistics. Do I want this? Pros and cons of that. Whereas Gen Z is more related to feeling. Do I feel good with this product? What memory does it spring up for me? It's a lot more emotive marketing than just here's the price, here's the pros and cons, here's the specifications, you know? I feel like it's like, oh, but does it look aesthetic enough for me? Does it make me feel good? I feel like that's why experiential marketing is becoming a lot more prevalent as well, don't you think?
Yeah, I do agree. I think the reason for that is because we have way more options right now, especially with the local markets. You see so many startups are rising with so much potential, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, with so much creativity in many industries, including the beauty industry. So I'll go back to the sustainability and influencer topic, like two in one. So many influencers did make their own businesses. I think they can tell the shift from influencers is happening. So a lot of them did start their own businesses. A lot of them went into the beauty industry. Another thing is regarding sustainability. You see so many brands already like that have been well established. They start minimizing their packaging to provide the Gen Zs, let's say, with what they want. But from my personal opinion on that is that, again, I'll go back to being truthful is better. Having less packaging is also not attractive because, as you said, we prefer the aesthetically pleasing things. So if the packaging is really good, that might make my decision into buying the product and forgetting the sustainability area.
I mean, Gen Z loves unboxing.
We love unboxing, yeah.
Love unboxing. Like, even if you're not an influencer, you get a package, you want to unbox it and record a video of it.
Definitely, yeah.
So
we do.
Yeah, and I mean, I get that. So I feel like there has to be that balance between the minimizing of the packaging so that it looks authentically in line with sustainability, but also delivers that experience of I'm gonna unbox this now.
Of course, 100%.
I feel like this might be a little bit of a controversial thing. We might cut this one out post-production. But I feel like, so remember when Apple decided that we want to go minimal, so we're going to remove some of the wires and cables and so on, and we are going to make the packages more like, you know, sustainability friendly and all of that. That kind of backfired. There were a lot of people who were pretty angry at that, because they saw it as, no, you're trying to cut costs for yourself while writing it off as sustainability for us. You're causing an inconvenience for the consumer, but packaging it as sustainability for us.
So I was gonna also add, you know, another way is to minimize it, which would be a higher cost on the brand itself, is to do the entire packaging sustainable friendly rather than cutting costs in a way. So obviously what Apple decided to do back then really pissed us off a lot, actually. I was really happy when I bought my iPad, it came with a charger this time, because I haven't renewed my phone in a while. So I was really pleased to see that the chargers are back in the packaging. Thank you, Apple. So to continue with the topic of the social media and being off, we spoke about the hands-on experiences are more important. I think Ahmed has some points on that as well, and some statistics he has to share, that although Gen Z is cutting off social media slightly, we are still the highest users.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, let's start with baby boomers. They are using Facebook. Average daily usage, it's around 1.5 hours. And the content preference, news and family updates. Let's go to the next generation, Gen X. Facebook and YouTube platforms they are using. Average daily usage around 2 hours. Content preference in news and nostalgic content. Let's go also for millennials, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Average daily usage like around 2.5 hours. And for the content, images and long form content. Let's go to us, Gen Z generation. We are using Instagram, YouTube and TikTok, but for me, I'm still using Facebook as well. Average daily usage like around 4.5 hours. The content is short form videos and authentic content.
Yeah, this is what we predicted.
Yeah, but for me, like, you know what? I stay on the social media more than 5.5 hours.
Oh yeah,
4.5
there are
hours.
definitely people who do it
Yeah.
more. This is the average of like the entire world, but personally even I do spend a little too much time.
A lot of times.
Yes.
Da.
But actually, you mentioned something very interesting in the statistics for Gen Z, Ahmed. When you said that they consume long-form content on YouTube, short-form content on YouTube, actually, there have been studies that they also somehow love long-form content on YouTube. So that's the contradiction.
See now,
Yes.
I will speak on myself.
Yes.
If I'm going to eat my lunch or dinner, if I am alone, of course I will go to the long content or the long form. So because I can't eat without watching something. For the short form, of course I will not like do it. Of course I will not be swiping once I am eating on the same time. So I will go to the long form about that. I usually watching Bab al-Hara, if you know it.
I do not, but I'll
Yeah.
take your word for it that it's a good show if it's keeping you entertained while eating. So yeah, I agree with one thing, and this is a trend that we see all the time. Gen Z, and even this is going past Gen Z at this point, when we say they love consuming digital content, we really mean they love it. You will not have a moment of silence with Gen Z, especially. Like, they need to always have either something, even if they are not watching the video, if it's long form, they will have it in the background. They need that background noise. And I feel like this has something to do with the attention spans. Now, even though we say Gen Z has a shorter attention span, it also applies to the fact that their brain needs to always be so stimulated at all times that even when they are doing a task, they need to have some form of content consumption in the background, right? So like when you're eating, there were people used to just eat in silence, you know? But now there needs to be that background noise. Even if you are sitting with someone, a lot of the times, how many times have you sat with a group of friends and you're having like lunch at your house, right? You'll still turn the TV on and have YouTube playing in the background, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right? So it's like that constant need for consumption. And it might seem like it's in the background, but they still pick up information from it. And this is a form of marketing as well, that you need to place your content very well in long form content as well, that they will consume that too.
Okay, so I'll jump in on this point. My perspective on how I see this topic, because I've had so many discussions with people, millennials and Gen X, on this, and they always complain and tell us that Gen Z is so difficult, or your time is so difficult and much harder than our time. I believe that it is true. We do go through way more than what people used to go through in the past. What I like to describe it to others is that I feel like we're living two different lives. One that goes on social media and one that goes in reality. And that's why our brain is always overly stimulated. We don't want to like go off social media for 2-3 days and miss all the trends. And we don't want to miss out on having hands-on experiences and proper experiences with our families, our close friends. So we try to balance everything through doing this. But when it comes to us wanting to be out there more, at least with me and my friends, we try to find something that will give us more experiential marketing, as we have mentioned before, because we still want to experience reality. We don't want to stay behind our phones the whole day. So that's why if I want to jump into the VR, I'm really against it, because I feel like if everything shifts into virtual reality, it's going to be, for me, it's a very scary thought. I don't find it engaging. I don't enjoy the experience. I feel like it's so unrealistic and a bit creepy that you feel like you're engaging so well on that it's too scary that you might let go of reality and just dig into that life. Okay, so to go deeper and dig deeper into the virtual reality, because I think now many people are going to understand that thought, I've seen, and from the information I've been getting, is that people are going to be able to rent spots on virtual reality. So let's say they'll name this specific slot on there that's going to be the rich area. So all the, let's say, expensive brands are going to rent stores there. And I think we've seen, there was a story that came out almost a year ago where someone replicated Hermes on VR, and I think they sued the guy because he replicated the store copy-paste on virtual reality. And people are enjoying this experience and they're actually buying products from there. So this is the fear that I was talking about, just to clarify more, is that it's becoming too realistic that people will actually live their dreams from their couches in their homes.
Yeah, it is scary indeed. But yeah, that is also a form of marketing now, that, again, marketing will have to develop and start accommodating if that happens. Like, whether we like it or not, right? It will be a form that businesses will have to focus on and branch into if enough people like it and follow that trend. So,
I mean, of course, yeah, being marketing experts ourselves, we dig deep into the future and we look at all the potentials that might or might not happen, and we plan ahead on how we can market to these things. So in terms of trends wise, however, this would definitely be a very trending topic once it becomes fully functioning, especially for the Gen Alpha, actually, because I see my brother really engaging in VR already.
oh yeah, virtual reality has been a big, like, it keeps spiking up every time there is a new thing happening there, and like the metaverse this, the metaverse that. Every time there's a spike in that trend, and it goes crazy for a while, and then it dies down when the news goes away. But at some point, it might become a permanent addition.
People thought Gen Z is difficult. Let's wait for Generation Alpha. We'll see what they have.
That'll be an interesting episode a couple of years down the line.
That's very funny.
Speaking of generation, I already mentioned what I was thinking when I was in university. As a millennial, MJ, what were you thinking of when you were in university?
Okay, so that's an interesting one. So I'm the millennial that's halfway between Gen Z and the millennials. So as a result of that, I could already see the shift in myself and my classmates, like uni mates, that we were already shifting towards it's the way that you were thinking in university, where you were like, I need to start my own business and I need to do this and that. The generation that came before, the early millennials, which was my sister, hers was, I'm going to go to university, I'm going to finish, and then I'll get into a job, the usual things that millennials were into. Mine was half there, half the other way. I was like, I need to get a job, a full-time job after I finish my university, the classic millennial thing. And the other part of me was like, I was always skeptical of marketing stuff myself. I was like, I was beginning to already go, but do I really want this? How does it make me feel? The way the Gen Z does. And then the other part of me was like, I need to start my own business, which I did. I dabbled into entrepreneurship myself as well. And that allowed me to understand what people want things marketed to them. In my mid-millennial era, it was half-half. Marketing was seen, you had a split of half the people still going with the trends, still buying things that are like brand-based and like image and just like they're selling it, they're placing it in front of me, I'm gonna buy it. And then you had the other half, which were skeptical and were like, no, but do I really want this? Do I really need this? This is where I feel the split began even. The middle of millennial is when you started seeing some of the Gen Z trends already sneaking into marketing.
To add what you said, I have one question. Being able to relate to both, do you feel like millennial has the worst luck when it comes to the market?
Oh, definitely. Especially if you were in the middle, because we were too late for previous generations' trends to have the successful market businesses and everything. Like there was a shift in the economy and the shift in the market when we were coming around from the previous generation. By the time we were old enough to actually set up our own businesses or do things, trends were already shifting. And we were stuck in the middle of like, wait, do I do this now or do I do that now? It became a work in progress and everything started shifting. I saw a lot of businesses, for example, that went up at that time started to fail because they couldn't catch up with the shifting of the marketing aspect. And they were doing the old school marketing still, and that resulted in the business failing. So we were too late to reap the benefits of the previous strategies, and then we were too early and couldn't catch up with the new stuff that was coming along. So it was difficult. Like you had to very quickly adjust, and a lot of people could not. And not everyone is dynamic enough to be able to do that. So yes, I do agree. We were quite unlucky with that.
I think I do agree as well, because there was a shift in technology, let's say also. So many people found it difficult to adapt to using the platforms or to be able, because now when you want to work, the biggest skill or the default skill you need to know is how to use a laptop, let's say. And
well, okay, in my era we weren't that technologically challenged.
I'm sorry, if I'm gonna say it, I meant like other platforms on that device.
They did get more complicated. True, there is that.
It got complicated, I mean. So the default skills. So many people struggled and still struggle actually to use so many things. So I think that's the beginning of the millennials. A lot of them don't like social media at all. They hate Instagram, and the reason for that is them being in the middle between Gen X and millennials. So they hate social media.
Oh, I remember I used to despise TikTok when it first came out, and everyone was hopping on the trend, and I was like, ew, this is cringe, no.
So regarding the TikTok topic, actually interestingly speaking, so many clients that we've been prospect clients we've been meeting with who are from the millennial groups are struggling with the idea of TikTok because they find it embarrassing and stupid, let's say. So for them, when we recommend using TikTok content and creating more short-length videos for TikTok that accommodates the Gen Z market, for them, they don't take it seriously. They take it very offensively, some of them. Another aspect is they find it very funny. They're very scared that their brand reputation and their brand identity will fall because of TikTok, not knowing that with Gen Z, we like the natural vibe. So instead, it will actually grow really well and it will really become, let's not call it trendy, but looks realistic.
I agree so much with this, and we see the smarter brands, like big brands, by the way. I'm pretty sure most of us have seen the Carrefour egg and chicken TikTok video. that was insanely big, where it's just like, it looks very scuffed. It is not in line with brand guidelines and quality that you would see in a big firm, right? It's not. It's scuffed. It's supposed to be like this. Chicken shows up, throws an egg, the egg breaks, the price comes out, and it is funny, and you don't expect it from such a brand even, but they did it so naturally that it took off. And I agree, a lot of newer clients that we speak to, it takes quite a bit of time to explain it to them. Don't be scared. Don't worry. It will work. If you do it right, it will work.
And they really fear it. And that's the funny part of the meetings, actually, is that when you recommend it and you see their faces, they have a big concern when it comes to that. And that takes us back to them not believing that Gen Z has a purchasing power already. So their fear is that, why should I accommodate this market? They're still very young. They do not realize that a lot of the Gen Z generation has become old enough and financially stable to be able to purchase from their products or take their services. So they have a big fear that if they do this, they will lose obviously their loyal clients who have already been out there, the millennials, and obviously the other generations that were before that. So it's really interesting how the market is viewing TikTok.
Yeah, and then we have to explain to them, as we touched on the topic, that a lot of millennials and generations before are now coming on board with the Gen Z trend. So you're not actually losing your clients from other generations and only focusing on Gen Z. You're onboarding the ones that are enjoying the Gen Z trends.
Of course, I do agree. And we have to explain as well, one thing is that you shouldn't follow any TikTok trend, because their fear is that we will make them look really embarrassing, or that we might follow something that's outside of their standards, because we're in the Middle East here. So we have to speak about how some people still want to keep the respect to their culture and the environment. So their fear is losing that value as well.
100% agree, and they actually did studies on this as well, that Gen Z does not want brands to just jump on trends. There were statistics that Gen Z prefers original trends. They want the brand to actually set the trend, but it should be a trend that actually relates to them. So creating the culture rather than chasing the culture is what Gen Z prefers.
Of course, yeah, and Gen Z does prefer unique content. They don't like just like followers, because you can see that so many brands also out there do the mistake of just following any trend they see, not realizing that the value of the brand does fall. That's why it's a very sensitive topic, and I do accommodate the concern of many millennials, because it is concerning when you jump into any random thing and just do it and go for it. That's why I always give them my advice, is that we do research into it and we look into it. You don't just do whatever you see or whatever looks funny and you just throw it out there. That's not how it's gonna work as well.
Yes, don't just post a random corporate meme if it's not going to fit your vibe and business idea. Create a meme that actually does fit. Like, that's what we've seen a lot of businesses do now, is that they post memes.
Yeah.
And they only do that without actually the afterthought or like the hindsight, or to fine tune it specifically for them.
Of course, and we have to realize that Gen Z is a very sensitive generation.
Yes.
So not any meme can be used, not any word. It can insult a certain thing, because we're a lot on social topics and
Tone
political
deaf,
topics.
Yeah. You can all be tone deaf, yeah.
So we really care about the mental health and well-being of a person. So any joke can be very offensive to us.
Yes. Speaking of sensitivity and not offending Gen Z, there is one topic that Gen Z is kind of split on as well. So it can be very easy to offend them on this, or for them to actually be onboarded. It's AI. So AI generated content. Gen Z is pretty cautiously curious about it. Either they will hate it or they will like it. Your brand will then be associated with that hate or like.
Right.
So do you think that AI can ever truly be accepted by Gen Z as a tool, or will they always hate it? Like we even saw with the Studio Ghibli trend that came out. It was AI generated images. It took off. It definitely took off as a trend, but there was also a lot of backlash on the trend. So what do we think about AI generated content, Ahmed?
So we can use it like on good side or with the bad side. Let me start with the downside of using AI, is that we are extremely relying on it to the point where our doctors start using it.
Yeah, and lawyers as well. Yeah.
This has caused caused many people to lose their jobs as business owners started relying on AI for designs, video generation, and content creation. Many Gen Zs have graduated with degrees in graphic design, production, mass communication, and more, and they don't even get a chance to be hired because AI is taking over. So, anytime they see a brand use AI, they associate negativity. They fear losing their jobs before even acquiring them. Even unpaid internship because almost impossible to find because for the employer there is more room. When Gen Z sees their livelihood is being played with by a brand, why would they want to buy from that brand? It's insulting.
True, yeah.
Yeah, but there is a way to use it for good. So let's speak about that.
Okay.
If AI is ethically used, it can be a powerful tool for all business and another reason for Gen Z to become the boss at the topic.
True, because like you can literally run an entire business
Yeah,
with one
I will
person.
give you example.
Yes. Okay, let's go.
To do research to advance on X company, let's say tools like
Well,
ChatGPT.
wait, we don't mean X as in Twitter, by the way, guys. We don't mean that. We X company. X company.
X
I
company,
hate that
X
it's been
company.
taken by that. Anyways, yes.
The tools like ChatGPT will give me the full profile on the company and the management as well. But you have to cross check. Of course, you have to do that. It
AI
is a great tool.
hallucinates. Yep. AI hallucinates. Yeah.
It's a great tool to speed things up. But again, to say it's ethically, for example, hire someone with a degree in graphic design, videography, content writer, design strategy, and so on, and let them use the tool. But let's focus on one thing: let them use it to assist them, not replace them.
Yes, I agree. That's the problem, that people are replacing people with AI. No, you have the knowledge, have someone who has the knowledge already. They worked hard for this, they studied for this. Let them use it to help them because they will use it better
Of
than
course.
someone who has no knowledge, honestly.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
That is true. So that is there is a way for AI forward, just it needs to be used properly by brands, and we can discuss the details of that in an episode of its own because AI is an interesting topic, and I would like to hear Ahmed, you speak more on that in that episode. So guys, don't forget to subscribe and follow us for that episode that's coming out. Now, to end our podcast episode for the day, I want to ask both of you, if you had to give one piece of advice for brands who are trying to future-proof their strategy for Gen Z, what do you think it would be? What is your golden tip for them?
So first of all, brand consistency, and I highlight on that. It's very, very important, especially for well-established brands. So the most important thing on Instagram, and I'm gonna segregate the content here, is to maintain the consistency throughout. And it's not with the logo placements or the use of colors or the logo has to be out there, because I've read research that says that usage of logos on Meta is not as efficient anymore. So it's more of how you voice your brand as an overall. This consistency is very important, and this goes back to the AI topic. Because of the use of AI, the voice has been shifting in so many brands we've seen, and many big brands are generating content on AI and making videos only from AI. Anyways, as we said, this will have a different series, but my first tip would be brand consistency, and then from there we can start creating more content that's segregated to the market. Now, regarding TikTok, obviously do your research and focus on the trends that you go on to. So one more thing also, I feel like Gen Z enjoys storytelling, so also focus on storytelling for your brand, how your brand started, especially for the companies that have been out there since like 50 years plus, 10 years, whatever it is. Gen Z likes to hear your stories, how you started, and we hear a lot of founders and CEOs who have very interesting stories, especially the ones that came to the Middle East, have really nice stories on how they started their business and how they grew. Like, I've heard so many nice stories of how they were selling things on the street and then suddenly now they're like a huge corporate entity. So it's very interesting, and Gen Z will really love the truthful aspect.
Thank you, Jana. And Ahmed, what is your tip for these brands?
To add to what Jana said, focus on the emotional trigger when speaking to Gen Z. Give them a personalized experience and give them hands-on experience as discussed before. Go out there, meet them, and interact with them. Even though we are speaking on a higher budget, it is worth it in the long run.
I mean, to add to the personalization aspect, look at Labubu right now.
Oh my God.
Because I think what people are enjoying more is unboxing them and getting like a different color and limited edition colors. Like you try your luck. So, and they're putting it on their bags, on their handbags, backpacks, whatever it is. So I think they're enjoying that. The experience became so personal in their point of view that they're enjoying it. If you've seen Time Out Dubai just posted the queue in Mall of the Emirates actually on Labubu dolls and unboxing them, which I found very interesting. And this trend's actually going for both millennials and Gen Zs, mainly millennials. So it's very interesting how a personalized experience, even if it has a higher budget and it's more time consuming, it's really effective for the people and it's bringing on a lot of ROI actually. And MJ, what is your tip?
So my tip would be that there is no way you can actually future-proof with one single strategy. Gen Z is a very dynamic generation. They are constantly changing as they are growing and being affected by the world. My tip for you is constantly monitor what is happening in the world outside of your business. It is not just related to your business anymore. Gen Z wants a brand that is conscious about the world that it is part of. So make your strategy liquid. It needs to flow and it needs to mold into solving problems about the world as well. And I mean it genuinely, not just for the sake of selling, because as we discussed earlier, Gen Z can see through fake, okay? So Gen Z is actually trying to make the world a better place because they inherited a world that is on fire. So marketing has to also put out these fires for them as well. And that is when they will actually relate to it because the world is affecting them directly. So as a brand, you need to be aware of the world around you and integrate into that brand. Again, it might seem like it is a higher cost, but it is worth it because you are onboarding not just Gen Z, but also the future that comes after them. And anything that, because again, like I said, the world is going in a direction that is just on fire. So until that world's fire is put out, your marketing will have to definitely consider all of those fires. That's my tip for them. All right, so thank you very much everyone for listening. We hope this was an interesting podcast for you as our first. We have many, many, many more topics lined up and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye everyone.
Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Bye.